Listen to me closely. This is not a message for someday. This is not a word for someone else. And this is not a thought meant to comfort you in theory. This is a declaration meant to shake your bones awake right now. God says, I will reverse your age, not your calendar, not the numbers written on paper, but the weight you have been carrying in your spirit, the exhaustion etched into your soul, the heaviness that made you feel older than your years. God is speaking to the part of you that feels worn down, stretched thin, and silently tired of surviving. God is not whispering this. God is declaring it with authority, with intention, with power that cannot be resisted. Some of you listening right now feel older than you are, not because of time, but because of battles. You didn't age because years passed. You aged because you carried things you were never meant to carry alone. You aged because disappointment stacked on top of disappointment. You aged because hope was delayed, prayers seemed unanswered, and doors closed after you knocked with everything you had. But hear this with clarity and conviction. Time does not have the final say over you. God does. And when God says, I will reverse your age, God is saying, I will restore what life tried to steal. I will renew what pressure tried to break. I will strengthen what pain tried to weaken. God is not limited by biology, by history, or by what people have told you is possible. God is not impressed by statistics, diagnoses, or timelines. God created time, and what God creates, God controls. When God speaks reversal, it is not symbolic, it is intentional. God is declaring a season where vitality returns, where strength rises, where passion is rekindled, where the fire you thought you lost begins to burn again. This is not about looking younger. This is about living younger. This is about waking up with hunger again, dreaming again, believing again, and moving again with the energy of purpose. There are people who have told themselves, I'm too old for this now, not because your body said it, but because your spirit felt tired. You told yourself it's too late to start again, too late to build again, too late to expect something new. But God says your season is not defined by your age. Your age is defined by your season. And when God shifts your season, everything responds. Your mind responds. Your heart responds. Your strength responds. God does not renew you by subtracting years. God renews you by restoring vision. Understand this clearly. Aging in the spirit happens when hope is deferred. When hope is delayed too long, it makes the heart tired. And when the heart grows tired, everything else follows. But God is not the author of delayed restoration. God is the author of sudden turnaround. God is the author of renewal that comes faster than you expected. God is saying, I am about to accelerate what I restore. What took years to wear you down will not take years to lift off you. What slowly drained you will be removed by a decisive act of divine authority. You may have looked in the mirror and seen weariness. You may have felt your strength slipping, your motivation fading, your joy thinning out. But God does not look at you the way you look at yourself. God sees you through the lens of purpose. God sees you as someone who still has work to do, impact to make, lives to touch. God does not restore what God does not plan to use when God reverses your age. It is because God is repositioning you for what comes next. There are assignments ahead of you that require strength. There are doors ahead of you that require endurance. There are responsibilities ahead of you that require clarity and boldness. God is not sending you forward depleted. God is renewing you so you can carry what is coming. God does not advance tired vessels. God strengthens first, then sends. God restores first, then releases. That is why this word is not optional for you. It is necessary. Some of you have been faithful for a long time. You showed up when it was hard. You kept believing when nothing changed. You kept standing when it would have been easier to sit down and accept defeat. And silently, without realizing it, you told yourself that this is just how life will be. Now manageable, but not joyful, stable, but not exciting, faithful, but exhausted. But God is interrupting that internal agreement. God is saying, do not settle into weariness. I am not finished with you yet. When God reverses your age, God is restoring your sensitivity. You begin to feel again. You begin to care again. You begin to respond again. You begin to expect again. You stop moving through life numb and start engaging with life fully. You start waking up with anticipation instead of obligation. You start surviving the day and start stepping into it with intention. That is what spiritual youth looks like. It is not reckless, it is responsive. It is not naive, it is hopeful. God is not asking you to deny what you've been through. God is not minimizing your pain. God is not pretending the years were easy. God is saying, I will redeem the cost of those years. Nothing you endured was wasted. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Every tear, every delay, every disappointment shaped you, but it did not define your end. God is the only one who can take accumulated wear and turn it into accumulated wisdom without accumulated weakness. You see, the world teaches you that time only takes away. God teaches you that time can give back. The world says once something is gone, it's gone. God says restoration is part of divine order. God specializes in returning strength to the weary, courage to the fearful, and joy to the burdened. God is not intimidated by how long you've been tired. God is not overwhelmed by how deep the weariness goes. God is not negotiating with your exhaustion. God is commanding renewal. Right. Now, something needs to shift in how you see yourself. You are not declining, you are being prepared. You are not slowing down, you are being refined. You are not fading, you are being repositioned. The enemy of your soul wants you to believe that your best days are behind you. God says your strongest days are aligned with obedience, not youth. Your most effective days are aligned with purpose, not age. Your most fruitful days are aligned with divine timing, not human expectation. God is not bound by the past version of you. God works with who you are becoming. And who you are becoming requires strength, clarity, and endurance. That is why God is speaking reversal. This is not cosmetic renewal, this is functional renewal. God is strengthening your inner core so you can carry outer responsibility. God is reinforcing your foundation so the next level does not crush you. Some of you stop believing for big things because you told yourself you don't have the energy anymore. You stopped praying bold prayers because you didn't want to be disappointed again. You reduced your expectations so you could manage your emotions. But God is not honored by diminished expectation. God is honored by trust. And trust requires vitality. That is why God is restoring your inner youth, so you can believe again without fear. When God reverses your age, God restores your capacity to wait without becoming bitter, to work without becoming drained, to hope without becoming fragile. You begin to endure without hardening. You begin to persevere without losing tenderness. You begin to stand without becoming rigid. That balance is divine, and it only comes from God. Some of you are not tired physically, you are tired spiritually. You are tired of carrying responsibility. Tired of being the strong one, tired of holding things together, tired of being dependable while you yourself feel depleted. God sees that. God honors that. And God says, I will not let you break under the weight of your calling. Renewal is not a reward, it is provision. God is not asking you to push harder. God is asking you to receive deeper. The world tells you to hustle, to grind, to force momentum. God tells you to rest in divine strength. When God restores you, effort becomes effective again. What used to drain you now energizes you. What used to feel heavy now feels purposeful. That is the mark of restored spiritual age. Your past may have taught you caution, but God is teaching you courage. Your past may have taught you restraint, but God is teaching you trust. Your past may have taught you survival, but God is teaching you abundance of life. God is not erasing your lessons. God is removing your limitation. Wisdom remains. Fear leaves. Discernment remains. Weariness leaves. There is a freshness God wants to release into your thinking. A clarity that cuts through confusion. A lightness that breaks heaviness. You begin to see solutions where you once saw walls. You begin to recognize opportunity where you once expected loss. This is not optimism, it is alignment. When your spirit is renewed, perception changes. You don't see less, you see clearer. God is not reversing your age to send you backward. God is reversing your age to propel you forward. Youth in God is not about inexperience, it is about responsiveness. It is about the ability to move when God speaks, to adjust when God redirects, to believe when God promises. A tired spirit resists change. A renewed spirit embraces it. Some of you resisted new beginnings because you felt too worn out to start again. But God does not start things without sustaining them if God is opening. Something new, it is because God is strengthening you for it. God never gives an assignment without supplying the energy to fulfill it. God never calls without equipping. God never sends without renewing. Right now, God is restoring your appetite, not just for food, but for purpose. You begin to hunger for meaning again. You begin to desire growth again. You begin to long for impact again. That hunger is a sign of life. Numbness is breaking. Stagnation is lifting. Movement is returning. You may not feel it all at once, but renewal often begins quietly. A thought changes. A desire stirs. A heaviness lifts slightly. Do not despise small signs of restoration. God often rebuilds strength layer by layer. What matters is that the direction has shifted, decline has stopped, renewal has begun. God is not intimidated by how long you have waited. Waiting does not age you when God is involved. Waiting refines you. The weariness came not from waiting, but from waiting without clarity. God is restoring clarity. When you know why you are waiting, the wait no longer drains you. It strengthens you. Your identity is not tired. Your identity is not burned out. Your identity is not past your prime. Your identity is defined by the one who created you. And God says you are still valuable, still called, still chosen, still needed. When God reverses your age, God is restoring your sense of worth. You are not here by accident. You are not still breathing without reason. You are not preserved without purpose. God sustains what God intends to use. The fact that you are still standing means God is not finished. The fact that you are still listening means this word is alive for you. Do not measure yourself by comparison. Comparison accelerates aging of the soul. God never asked you to match someone else's pace. God asked you to walk in obedience. When you walk in alignment, strength is renewed naturally. When you chase someone else's timeline, exhaustion follows. God is teaching you to move from pressure to flow, from striving to trust, from forcing outcomes to receiving them. That shift alone restores years of emotional wear. Peace is not passive, it is powerful. Peace stabilizes you. Peace preserves you. Peace renews you. Some of you feel like you lost your edge, but God says your edge is returning. Not sharp with anxiety, but sharp with discernment. Not driven by fear, but guided by wisdom. You will speak with clarity again. Decide with confidence again. Lead with strength again. God is not just restoring what you had. God is upgrading what you carry. You are not going back to who you were. You are moving into who you were meant to become. The renewal God brings is greater than the strength you remember. It is deeper, steadier, and more sustainable. This is why you must stop speaking decline over yourself. Your words matter. What you repeatedly say, your spirit begins to accept. Align your language with divine truth. You are not getting weaker. You are being renewed. You are not running out. You are being refilled. You are not fading. You are being refreshed. God is not finished writing your story. And God does not write endings with exhaustion. God writes futures with strength. There are chapters ahead that require courage. Pages ahead that require endurance. Moments ahead that require clarity. And God is making sure you are ready. Your past does not disqualify you from renewal. Your mistakes do not block restoration. Your failures do not cancel purpose. God restores because God is faithful, not because you are perfect. Renewal is an act of grace, not a reward for performance. Right now, this truth settled deep within you. Aging is not your enemy, hopelessness is. And hopelessness has no authority where God speaks promise. God has spoken, and what God speaks cannot return empty. Even now, strength is returning to your decisions. Confidence is returning to your voice. Stability is returning to your emotions. You may not shout it yet, but you will feel it soon. The heaviness that lingered is lifting. The fog that clouded your mind is clearing. The weariness that defined your days is losing its grip. God is restoring your sense of direction. You will know when to move and when to wait. You will not waste energy on confusion. You will not burn strength on unnecessary battles. Wisdom will guide you. Peace will guard you. This renewal is not fragile. It is anchored. God is not giving you a temporary boost. God is establishing a new rhythm. A rhythm of grace. A rhythm of strength. A rhythm of sustainable growth. And as you walk forward, you will. Notice that what once drained you no longer has the same power. What once discouraged you no longer defines you. What once intimidated you no longer controls you. Not because circumstances changed first, but because you did. God has spoken reversal. And reversal has already begun unfolding quietly, steadily, deeply, restoring strength where it was lost, renewing vision where it dimmed, awakening purpose where it slept, and continuing to move within you even now, aligning your steps, refreshing your spirit, and carrying you forward into what God has already prepared. When God speaks reversal, God is not negotiating with nature, memory, or limitation. God is commanding alignment. Everything that drifted out of order under pressure must realign under authority. Strength realigns. Joy realigns. Purpose realigns. Even your internal clock responds to divine instruction. God does not ask time for permission. Time answers to God. That is why renewal is not gradual when God decrees it. It is decisive. What looked permanent bows. What felt irreversible loosens its grip. What you assumed was normal fatigue is exposed as a temporary condition under divine correction. There are hidden places inside you where fatigue settled quietly, where disappointment made a home without your permission. God is not just restoring what you can see. God is healing what you normalize. Some burdens became so familiar that you forgot they were burdens. God is lifting what you learned to tolerate. And when those weights lift, you will realize how much strength you truly have. You were never weak, you were overloaded. You were never finished, you were fatigued. God is correcting the imbalance. God restores youth by restoring alignment between purpose and power. When people live disconnected from why they were created, exhaustion follows, even if success is present. But when purpose and calling realign, energy returns naturally. God is not reviving you so you can chase empty goals. God is reviving you so you can walk in meaning with clarity and stamina. That is why this renewal feels deeper than motivation. It is anchored in divine intention. Some of you grew tired, not because you lacked faith, but because you carried outcomes you were never meant to control. You tried to manage results instead of trusting direction. That strain ages the soul. God is inviting you back into trust. Trust does not remove responsibility, it removes anxiety. And when anxiety lifts, vitality returns. Peace is not restlessness disguised as calm. Peace is strength preserved. God is restoring your emotion. Null elasticity. You will bounce back faster. You will recover quicker. Disappointment will no longer linger as long. Challenges will no longer drain you the way they once did. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger on the inside. God does not always reduce resistance. God increases resilience. And resilience is a sign of restored spiritual youth. You are entering a season where wisdom and energy walk together. In the past, you had energy without discernment. Later, you gained discernment but lost energy. Now God is merging both. This is maturity without weariness. This is strength guided by understanding. This is the advantage of divine renewal. It does not erase your lessons. It empowers them. God is restoring your creative force. Ideas will flow again. Solutions will rise again. You will no longer feel mentally stagnant. When the mind is refreshed, clarity sharpens. You stop recycling old thoughts and start receiving new insight. God is not only renewing your spirit, God is expanding your capacity to think beyond. Survival into strategy. There are people who assumed you peaked already. They labeled you by a previous season. They mistook your quiet for decline. They mistook your pause for weakness. But God never announces renewal before it manifests. God restores privately and reveals publicly. What is happening inside you now will soon become visible. Strength always reveals itself through action. God is reversing the internal narrative you told yourself late at night when no one was watching. The thoughts that said, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, I don't have it in me, are being confronted by truth. God's voice is louder than internal doubt. When divine truth replaces inner accusation, strength stabilizes. You are not being rushed, you are being rooted. Youth in God is not frantic movement, it is confident progress. God is teaching you to move with assurance, not urgency. Urgency drains energy. Assurance multiplies it. When you know God is directing your steps, you stop wasting strength on fear. God is restoring your patience without making you passive. Waiting will no longer feel like stagnation. Waiting will feel like preparation. And preparation energizes rather than exhausts. When you know something meaningful is coming, endurance becomes easier. God is clarifying your expectations so your patience becomes powerful. Somehow, you stopped celebrating small victories because you felt too tired to rejoice. God is restoring your joy. Joy is not decoration, it is fuel. Joy strengthens resolve. Joy renews perspective. Joy guards the heart against despair. God is not giving you shallow happiness. God is restoring deep gladness rooted in trust. God is also refining how you spend your strength. In the past, you wasted energy on proving yourself, defending yourself, explaining yourself. God is teaching you restraint. Restraint preserves vitality. You will no longer argue with misunderstanding. You will no longer chase validation. You will move with quiet authority. That alone will save years of emotional exhaustion. This reversal is also relatio. Now, God is restoring your capacity to love without depletion, to serve without resentment, to give without emptiness. You will no longer feel drained after every interaction. God is recalibrating your boundaries. Healthy boundaries are not walls, they are wisdom, and wisdom keeps strength intact. You are not being made younger to repeat old cycles. God is renewing you to walk differently. You will recognize patterns quicker. You will exit draining situations sooner. You will discern what deserves your energy and what does not. That discernment is part of restoration. God is also restoring your physical awareness. You will listen to your body with wisdom, not fear. You will rest without guilt. You will move without pressure. You will treat your strength as something valuable, not disposable. God honors stewardship, even of your own vitality. There is a confidence returning to your prayer, not desperation, but assurance. You will no longer pray as someone begging for survival, but as someone aligned with promise. Confidence in prayer restores courage in life. When you trust God's response, you stop draining yourself with anxiety. God is not renewing you to isolate you. God is renewing you to influence. There are people who will draw strength from your stability. Your renewal will become permission for others to believe again. God often restores one so many can be encouraged through one. You will notice that your reactions change. Where you once reacted emotionally, I'll now respond wisely. Reaction drains energy. Response preserves it. God is slowing your inner world so your outer world can move effectively. This is also a restoration of focus. Scattered attention exhausts the mind. God is bringing simplicity. You will know what matters and what does not. You will invest your strength where it multiplies. Focus is a form of renewal. God is not intimidated by the years you think you lost. God redeems time by intensifying impact. What others do slowly, God enables you to do efficiently. When God restores, productivity increases without pressure. That is divine acceleration. You are entering a phase where your presence carries weight without effort. Authority does not come from force, it comes from alignment. When God renews you, authority flows naturally. People listen without you raising your voice. Doors open without you pushing them. God is also healing the disappointment of unmet expectations. Unhealed disappointment ages the heart. God is removing the residue of frustration. You will no longer measure yourself by what didn't happen. You will align yourself with what God is doing now. This renewal is not temporary enthusiasm. It is a reset of foundation. God is strengthening what holds you up, not just what moves you forward. Strong foundations sustain growth without collapse. Even now, endurance is increasing. You will last longer without fatigue. You will remain consistent without burnout. God is teaching you sustainability. Sustainability is a sign of wisdom, not limitation. God is restoring your confidence to begin again where necessary, without shame. Starting again does not mean failure. It means courage. And courage is youthful. Fear ages. Courage renews. You are not behind. You are positioned. God does not waste timing. God uses every season to prepare capacity. What felt like delay was development. What felt like loss was training. God is restoring your authority over your inner world. Your thoughts will no longer dominate you. You will govern them with truth. Mental discipline preserves strength. God is giving you mastery over what once mastered you. This is why you must not resist renewal by clinging to old identities. You are not who you were when you were tired. You are not who you were when you were discouraged. God is revealing who you are becoming. The renewal God brings is quiet but unstoppable. It does not need announcement. It proves itself through consistency, clarity, and courage. And it continues unfolding, deepening, strengthening, stabilizing, renewing from the inside outward as God remains faithful to what has already been spoken and set in motion. God is also restoring your sense of timing. In the past, you rushed some seasons and lingered too long in others. Not because you lacked wisdom, but because fatigue clouded discernment. Weariness distorts judgment. But renewal sharpens it. You will sense when to move and when to remain still, when to speak and when to stay still. And this accuracy preserves strength. Precision always consumes less energy than confusion. And God is bringing precision back into your life. There is a holy confidence. God is awakening in you the confidence to trust divine pace. You will no longer panic when things seem slow. And you will no longer fear when things accelerate. You will recognize the rhythm of God. When you move with divine rhythm, you do not age under pressure. Pressure ages those who resist timing, but alignment refreshes those who trust it. God is also restoring your capacity to carry responsibility without heaviness. Responsibility itself does not exhaust people. Isolation does. God never intended you to carry purpose alone. When God renews you, God also repositions support, alignment, and connection. You will notice that help appears where before there was strain. Burdens are shared. Load is balanced. Strength is multiplied through divine order. Some of you confused endurance with silence. You endured quietly, thinking that speaking your need was weakness. But God does not reward silent suffering. God responds to honest surrender. Renewal comes when you release control and acknowledge dependence. Dependence on God is not immaturity. It is wisdom, and wisdom sustains vitality. God is restoring your inner voice. You will no longer speak harshly to yourself. Self-accusation drains life. God's voice restores it. When your inner dialogue aligns with divine truth, peace settles, and peace preserves energy. You were never meant to be your own harshest critic. God is reestablishing truth as your internal authority. This reversal also touches your memory. God is healing how you remember the past. Painful memories will no longer drain you when they surface. They will inform you without controlling you. God is transforming memory from a source of weakness into a source of wisdom. When the past no longer has power over your emotions, your strength is released into the present. God is restoring boldness without arrogance. You will speak truth without aggression. You will stand firm without hostility. Strength does not require loudness, it requires clarity. God is giving you clarity that commands respect without force. That kind of authority does not exhaust, it stabilizes. There is also a renewal happening in your ability to receive. Some of you learned how to give, but forgot how to receive. Giving without receiving eventually empties the soul. God is teaching you balance. You will receive rest without guilt, affirmation without suspicion, blessing without fear. Receiving restores youth because it keeps the heart open. God is breaking the lie that says rest is wasted time. Rest is not absence of productivity. It is preparation for it. When God restores your age, God restores your relationship with rest. You will rest deeply and rise strongly. Shallow rest produces shallow strength, but God is giving you restorative rest that reaches the core. You are also being renewed in how you handle opposition. Opposition once drained you emotionally. You replayed conversations, rehearsed arguments, and carried frustration long after the moment passed. God is teaching you release. Release is powerful. When you let go quickly, energy is preserved. God is teaching you to move forward without dragging emotional residue. Behind you, God is restoring your courage to trust again. Distrust ages the heart. Guarded living drains vitality. God is not calling you to be naive, but to be open where God directs. You will trust wisely, love intentionally, and engage fully without fear dominating your decisions. Courage refreshes the soul. There is a spiritual alertness returning to you. You will notice subtle shifts. You will sense misalignment before it becomes damage. Early discernment prevents late exhaustion. God is sharpening your awareness so you do not pay later for what you can adjust now. God is also restoring your expectation of good. Cynicism is heavy. It convinces you that disappointment is wisdom, but God never designed you to live braced for loss. God designed you to live anchored in trust. Expectation of good lightens the heart and renews strength. You will also experience renewal in your perseverance. Perseverance no longer feels like dragging yourself forward. It feels like steady progress. God is removing the strain from consistency. You will remain faithful without feeling drained, because your faithfulness is now fueled by grace, not pressure. God is restoring your authority over fear. Fear accelerates aging because it keeps the body and mind in constant tension. God's presence releases that tension. When fear loses its grip, your nervous system calms, your thoughts settle, and your strength stabilizes. Calm is not weakness, it is control. There is also a refining of desire happening. Some desires exhausted you because they were misaligned. God is purifying desire so what you want energizes you instead of draining you. When desire aligns with purpose, pursuit becomes life-giving. God is restoring the joy of obedience. Obedience once felt heavy because it was mixed with obligation. Now it will feel light because it is rooted in trust. Obedience that flows from trust renews strength. Obedience driven by fear depletes it. You will notice a renewed patience with people. Impatience drains emotional energy. God is softening your reactions and strengthening your understanding. You will no longer feel compelled to control others' growth. That release alone restores peace. God is also restoring your sense of wonder. Wonder keeps the spirit young. When you stop being amazed, life becomes mechanical. God is reopening your eyes to beauty, to meaning, to subtle blessings. Gratitude flows naturally from wonder, and gratitude multiplies strength. Your spiritual senses are being sharpened. You will discern truth faster. You will recognize deception sooner. Confusion will no longer linger. Clarity preserves energy because it eliminates you. Necessary struggle. God is restoring your inner stability. External circumstances will shift, but you will remain anchored. Stability is not rigidity, it is resilience. Resilient people recover quickly. Recovery speed is a sign of renewed strength. There is also a restoration of joy in responsibility. You will no longer resent what you are called to carry. God is reminding you why you were trusted with it in the first place. Purpose reinfuses joy into duty. God is renewing your sense of identity. You are not defined by seasons of exhaustion. You are defined by divine intention. Identity aligned with God is a constant source of strength. Even now, courage is being rebuilt. Not reckless courage, but steady courage. Courage that shows up daily. Courage that chooses faith over fear consistently. That kind of courage renews you over time. God is also healing the inner fractures caused by disappointment. You learn to protect yourself by lowering expectation. God is raising expectation again, not recklessly, but faithfully. Faithful expectation restores vitality. You will find that you're emotional. Reactions are calmer. Your thoughts are clearer. Your decisions are firmer. This is not coincidence. It is restoration unfolding. God works quietly, deeply, and thoroughly. And as this renewal continues, you will realize that age never had authority over you. Time never owned you. God did. And God still does. Sustaining you, strengthening you, restoring you, carrying you forward, with purpose, clarity, and enduring strength. As this divine reversal continues to unfold within you, steadily, powerfully, and without interruption, God is also restoring your authority over distraction. Distraction slowly drains strength because it fragments focus and multiplies effort. When your attention is scattered, even small tasks feel heavy. But God is gathering your focus again. You will no longer feel pulled in every direction. Your mind will settle. Your priorities will clarify. When focus returns, energy follows. God is not giving you more time. God is giving you mastery over the time you already have. There is a restoration happening in your sense of purpose-driven urgency. Not panic, not anxiety, but holy momentum. You will move with intention, not impulse. Impulse wastes strength. Intention conserves it. God is teaching you to act with precision rather than reaction. This is why your decisions will begin to feel lighter even when they are weighty. Alignment removes unnecessary resistance. God is restoring your ability to endure pressure without internal collapse. Pressure is not the enemy, misalignment is. When pressure meets clarity, it produces strength. When pressure meets confusion, it produces exhaustion. God is clearing confusion. You will carry responsibility without internal turmoil. You will stand under weight without buckling. That is renewed inner structure. Some of you carried guilt for resting, guilt for saying no, guilt for choosing yourself. Omens of recovery. God is breaking that guilt. Guilt is a thief of vitality. God never intended obedience to cost you your health or your joy. Obedience aligned with God preserves life. You will choose balance without apology. That choice alone restores years of internal wear. God is also restoring your confidence to dream without fear of disappointment. Fear of disappointment ages the heart faster than failure. It keeps you guarded, hesitant, restrained. God is reawakening vision without anxiety. You will dream anchored in trust, not desperation. Trust steadies the soul. Steady souls remain strong. There is a renewal happening in how you handle success. Success once brought pressure because you feared losing it. God is teaching you to enjoy growth without anxiety. When success no longer threatens you, it no longer exhausts you. God is restoring your ability to celebrate progress without fear of collapse. God is also healing the part of you that equated struggle with faithfulness. Struggle is not proof of devotion. Endurance is not meant to destroy you. God is showing you that ease can also be holy when it flows from alignment. You will walk in obedience with less friction. Less friction means less fatigue. Your emotional responses are being recalibrated. You will no longer overextend empathy to the point of depletion. Compassion will remain, but it will be guided by wisdom. God is teaching you to care without carry. Caring drains. Caring, when aligned with God, energizes. God is restoring your confidence to release what no longer serves your purpose. Holding on to outdated seasons ages the soul. God is giving you courage to let go without grief. Release creates space. Space invites renewal. Renewal requires room to move. There is also a restoration of your spiritual appetite. You will hunger for truth, not noise. Depth, not distraction. Substance, not surface. That appetite sharpens discernment and strengthens resolve. Shallow input weakens the spirit. God is drawing you into a nourishment that sustains. God is restoring your internal security. You will no longer measure your worth by productivity or approval. Insecurity drains strength because it forces constant performance. God is anchoring your identity in divine affirmation. Secure people move with calm authority. Calm authority conserves energy. You will notice that emotional recovery happens faster. Moments that once took days to process will take minutes. Not because you suppress emotion, but because you are no longer overwhelmed by it. God is increasing your emotional capacity. Capacity is a sign of strength. God is restoring your trust inconsistency. You will stop chasing intensity and start valuing stability. Intensity excites briefly but exhausts quickly. Stability sustains. God is building strength that lasts beyond moments of inspiration. There is also a renewal of your leadership posture. Leadership no longer feels like pressure to perform. It feels like responsibility, or carried with grace. God is removing the fear of failure from your leadership. Fear drains leaders. Trust empowers them. God is restoring your ability to learn without feeling behind. Comparison once stole your joy and energy. God is freeing you from comparison. Your journey will no longer feel delayed. It will feel intentional. Intentional paths do not exhaust. They fulfill. You are being renewed in how you interpret challenges. Challenges will no longer feel like threats to your stability. They will feel like invitations to grow. Growth energizes when it is embraced willingly. God is shifting your perspective so resistance becomes refinement. God is also restoring your courage to speak truth without fear of rejection. Silence born from fear ages the spirit. Honest expression, guided by wisdom, releases pressure. God is aligning your voice with truth and peace. There is a renewed awareness of divine presence in ordinary moments. When you recognize God in the everyday, life feels lighter. Meaning fills routine. Purpose fills repetition. That awareness keeps the heart young. God is restoring your patience with process. Process no longer feels like delay. It feels like formation. Formation strengthens. God is helping you value becoming as much as arriving. You will begin to notice that your laughter returns more easily. Laughter is not trivial, it is restorative. It loosens tension stored in the body and mind. God is restoring your ability to experience joy without suspect. Ion. God is also restoring your authority over stress. Stress no longer dictates your pace. You dictate your response. Control over response is control over energy. God is giving you mastery, not avoidance. Your sensitivity to truth is sharpening. You will discern what aligns and what drains. That discernment will protect your vitality. God is teaching you to guard your strength as something sacred. There is a deep restoration of hope happening. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is anchored expectation. Anchored hope stabilizes the soul. Stabilized souls endure without decay. God is renewing your sense of usefulness. You are not obsolete. You are not outdated. You are refined. Refinement increases value. God does not refine what God intends to discard. As this renewal continues, you will move forward with quiet confidence, steady endurance, and deep assurance. Not rushed, not strained, not depleted, but strengthened from within, aligned with purpose, grounded in trust, and sustained by God. As this divine reversal keeps unfolding, strengthening you layer by layer, breath by breath, step by step, according to the authority and faithfulness of God. God is also restoring your courage to confront what you once avoided. Avoidance drains strength because unresolved matters quietly consume energy. God is giving you the grace to face things with clarity instead of fear. When truth is addressed, peace follows. And peace does not merely calm you, it strengthens you. You will notice that issues which once felt overwhelming now feel manageable, not because they shrank, but because your inner capacity expanded. There is a renewal happening in your spiritual posture. You are no longer approaching life defensively. Defense exhausts. God is shifting you into a posture of trust and readiness. Readiness carries strength without tension. You will no longer brace for disappointment at every turn. You will stand alert, not anxious. That alertness preserves youth in the spirit. God is restoring your sense of internal order. Disorder inside creates fatigue even when life outside seems stable. God is bringing harmony to your thoughts, your emotions, and your priorities. When the inner world is ordered, the outer world becomes easier to navigate. Energy flows where order exists. You are also being renewed in how you process correction. Correction once felt like attack, draining your confidence. God is teaching you to receive correction as refinement. Refinement strengthens. When correction no longer threatens your identity, it no longer exhausts you. God is anchoring your worth so growth feels safe. God is restoring your discernment in relationships. You will recognize who refreshes you and who drains you. This awareness is not judgment, it is wisdom. Wisdom protects vitality. You will invest deeply where there is life and release where there is depletion. This shift alone will restore strength you did not realize you were losing. There is also a renewal of your eye, internal stillness. Stillness is not inactivity, it is composure. God is giving you composure under pressure. Composed people do not waste energy reacting. They respond with intention. That composure will make you feel lighter even in demanding seasons. God is restoring your sense of dignity. Weariness often strips people of dignity by forcing them into survival mode. God is lifting you out of survival and into stewardship. You will move with self-respect, not desperation. Dignity carries strength because it removes panic from decision-making. You are also being renewed in your relationship with effort. Effort no longer feels like strain, it feels like contribution. God is aligning your effort with impact. When effort produces fruit, it energizes rather than exhausts. God is ensuring your labor is meaningful. God is restoring your courage to wait without anxiety. Anxiety accelerates aging because it keeps the mind in constant unrest. God is teaching you to wait with expectation instead of tension. Expectant waiting strengthens patience. Patient strength endures. There is a renewal happening in your moral clarity. Conflicted values drain the soul. God is clarifying what matters most, so you no longer wrestle internally with compromise. Integrity preserves energy. When your actions align with your convictions, strength remains intact. God is restoring your authority to forgive without reopening wounds. Unforgiveness drains because it ties you emotionally to the past. God is giving you the grace to release without reliving. Release does not erase memory. It removes control. When the past loses control, energy returns to the present. You are also being renewed in your capacity to endure silence. Silence once made you uncomfortable because it felt empty. God is filling silence with presence. When silence becomes restful instead of threatening, it restores deeply. God is teaching you to find strength in still moments. God is restoring your confidence in divine justice. Carrying the need to make things right on your own ages the soul. God is relieving you of that burden. Trusting God to handle what you cannot restores peace. Peace stabilizes strength. There is a renewal happening in how you interpret resistance. Resistance no longer feels personal. God is giving you perspective. Perspective lightens emotional load. When you stop internalizing opposition, you stop losing energy to it. God is restoring your sense of gratitude even in ordinary moments. Gratitude anchors joy. Joy renews strength. God is opening your eyes to see provision where you once only saw pressure. That shift changes everything. You are being renewed in your ability to commit without fear of burnout. Burnout comes when commitment lacks support. God is surrounding your commitments with grace. Grace does not remove responsibility, it empowers it. God is restoring your capacity to be present. Presence is powerful. When you are fully present, you stop scattering energy across worry, regret, and fear. God is drawing you into now. The present moment holds strength. There is also a restoration of your internal authority. You will no longer allow every external voice to shape your inner world. God's truth will govern your thoughts. Inner governance preserves vitality. When the inside is led well, the outside follows smoothly. God is renewing your sense of expectancy without entitlement. Entitlement breeds frustration. Expectancy grounded in trust breeds patience. Patience sustains energy. God is teaching you to anticipate without demanding. You will notice a growing steadiness in your emotion. High highs and lows drain the system. God is bringing balance. Balanced emotions preserve strength. You will feel deeply without being overwhelmed. God is restoring your confidence to invest long-term. Short-term thinking drains because it keeps you anxious. God is giving you a long view. Long view thinking steadies the heart and strengthens endurance. There is a renewal of your inner courage to stand alone when necessary. Approval seeking exhausts the soul. God is grounding you so you can stand without applause. Inner approval from God is enough. God is restoring your authority over weariness itself. Weariness will no longer define your pace or your outlook. You will recognize it early and respond with wisdom. AWA. Weariness prevents depletion. As this work continues, you will not need to convince anyone of your renewal. It will be evident in your calm, your clarity, your consistency, your strength. You will move forward, not driven by fear, not pressured by time, not weighed down by the past, but sustained by trust, guided by wisdom, and renewed continuously by God, as this divine restoration deepens, stabilizes, and carries you onward with unwavering strength. Now hear this with final clarity and deep conviction. This reversal God has spoken is not fragile, not temporary, and not dependent on circumstance. What God begins, God sustains. What God restores, God preserves. You are not walking into a brief moment of strength followed by another season of collapse. You are stepping into a new order where renewal is continuous, where strength is replenished, where endurance is sustained. God does not restore you to leave you vulnerable again. God restores you to establish you. From this moment forward, you no longer measure your life by what has drained you, but by what is now empowering you. The years that felt heavy no longer define your future. The seasons that tested you no longer predict what is ahead. God has already accounted for every delay, every struggle, every tear, and has woven them into a foundation strong enough to carry what is coming. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was accidental. Everything was preparing you for this moment of renewal. You will walk with calm authority. Why? Not rushing to prove anything, not straining to keep up with anyone. Your pace will be steady. Your steps will be sure. And your confidence will be rooted in trust. You will rise each day, not driven by fear of time running out, but anchored in the assurance that God is ordering your steps. When you move, you will move with purpose. When you rest, you will rest without guilt. When you wait, you will wait with expectation. This is where your strength becomes testimony, not spoken loudly, but lived consistently. People will notice the clarity in your decisions, the peace in your responses, the endurance in your journey. They will sense that something has shifted, that you are not the same as before. And they will be right. God has renewed you from the inside out, and that renewal cannot be hidden. So stand firm in this truth. You are not declining. You are being sustained. You are not fading. You are being refined. You are not running out. You are being refilled. God has spoken reversal over your life. And that word is alive, active, and unstoppable. Carry it with confidence. Walk in it with faith. Trust it without hesitation. Because the same God who declared renewal is the God who will continue to strengthen you, guide you, and uphold you day after day, step after step, season after season.